What is going on, guys? Sirs TCG here, and the ban list just dropped. I'm here with my good buddy Yugo. He's been on the channel before. We were talking about what we thought were going to get banned, limited, unlimited, etc. And we're going to react to this ban list. We're at the forbidden page right now, and I see Lacrima, Appaloosa, King Calamity, and Beatrice. Absolute massive hits. I think this is insane, honestly. I think we actually said all of these would get hit except for Lacrima. Lacrima is the one that surprised me, and I'm really happy about it. Like, this is such a toxic card in time. Everybody was complaining about this card. Kind of knew Beatrice was gonna get hit. Calamity, yeah, like we could see coming. Like, it's probably like 2 ban lists late, but right in time for the Centurion support coming out in Rhoda. And then Appaloosa, just this huge floodgate generic monster on everyone's end board. How are we feeling, Yugo?
Yeah, man. So far, this is a win for me. Like, this page is a win for me. All of these hits are warranted. The Lacrima hit in particular, you know, it's funny. We were talking about, like, how are they going to approach this? How are they going to hit the Fiendsmith engine? Do they take out the bridge in order to preserve, I guess, what makes the Fiendsmith engine so good for rank 6, or just like material support, like generic material support? But the Lacrima hit actually makes like complete sense in terms of just how, like you said, toxic that card is in time. Anytime I've actually like wanted to flip the table on a Fiendsmith player was when it went to time and they would just 1200 burn me. Otherwise, yeah, I think the engine is fine. I do think that'll probably warrant, without Lacrima, it'll warrant the use of Necroquip as well. It'll warrant the use of Aerial Eater too, just to get like the level 6s on board for maybe a High King Wave Caesar. But I think that's fine, because I don't think you can actually beat Nib now because of it. So like, to get down to that line. So I think that's good. But otherwise, I think this is it's all good. I mean, I'm a Centurion player, and obviously seeing Calamity go, I don't even know if it hurts me a lot, because I kind of thought this was going to happen like 2 formats ago. So for me, this is completely fine. We'll just pivot probably to like 2 Blazars on field, or try to figure out how we can incorporate the new support, like you said, in Rhoda in more meaningful ways. Being that it's a level 8 and can fetch Emblema cards is absolutely massive. So it's going to be really interesting to see how, I guess, the Centurion community kind of pivots, including myself, pivots and gets creative with what we have. Because honestly, the easy go-to win con button was always Calamity. And I didn't always try to do it on the first turn, but definitely if I knew what I was up against, I would want to do it. So all these hits are great. Appaloosa being hit, my Mikonko brain hurts a little bit with that one, just because we used it as a part of our combo, and a lot of rogue decks did too, right? And I think that's the issue, is that with these hits, and we're going to probably see further hits on this list, it's a lot of rogue decks that are just trying to survive and stay afloat. And we had some really interesting discussions about what we thought was going to get hit in the last video we did together, so I'm curious to see how it translates. But anyway, yeah, so far this page is a win. I'm good with all of it.
Yeah, I agree. Huge win. We got 3 out of 4 on this list, on this forbidden section, which is great.
Good.
I have a couple problems with this page, though. The first thing is I don't see Sanctifier or Puppet. That's a huge one for me. And then the second thing is I don't see any Snake Eye cards in the forbidden section. So that's unless like there's gonna be a bunch of them in the limited, semi-limited section probably, but like, yeah. I don't know, man. Like the Fiendsmith, the Lacrima hit's fine, but like you can still make rank 6s. They're just not Beatrice. You just make King Caesar instead. I see the rogue decks dying. I mean, Nib Stonks are gonna go way up.
100%.
That's just what it is.
Unless you can make like a Herald, or even like a Regulus or something like that within 5 summons, like, I don't know, like that's really difficult. Yeah. You could also see, I don't want to stray too far from the list, but yeah, Nib Stonks are going up, but I think Crossout Stonks are going to go up too. You know, it almost feels like what they're doing in the OCG in terms of like how their non-engine is very similar in terms of just mirroring everybody has the same non-engine. I think it'll probably happen here too, to a certain degree. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, Sanctifier not being hit, like, I don't get, that's such a toxic card. Like, we're talking about like burning for 1200 in time is toxic. Putting a floodgate on your opponent's turn without them being able to interact with the monster itself is so toxic. It's so bad for the game. Like, there's a reason.
So stupid.
Like there's a reason why we got rid of expulsion. Like, it's expulsion on legs, and you can't even imperm it because it can't be targeted.
Yeah.
So dumb.
And it's 3K.
I know, it's not even like a bad monster. Like, it's a good board presence as well, right? Like, so stupid. Yeah, I hate everything about this. And yeah, and also they should have put Brandon Lost on there too. But anyway, we'll get to more stuff. That's just me ranting. Okay, let's go on to the next one.
Brandon Lost died for other card sins. Okay, we're going to limited. Okay. The first card I see here is Eva, and that card was banned. Voice players rejoicing. Drytron players frothing at the mouth right now. They are going to be very excited.
They're eating. They're absolutely eating. No crumbs. Although that being said, Eve is definitely a lot less of a threat. First of all, it's at 1, which is fine. But it's also because Beatrice is banned, so it's a lot harder to foolish, right? So
definitely didn't expect Eva. First of all, this limited list is huge. Like, it's the page is completely full, and the next 2 cards I see are Ash and Poplar. So we had said that we thought Ash would be semied and Poplar would be limited. I like this better. The Ash hit, I mean, it's okay because like most of the times, like I was playing Snake and I was playing Snake Fiend Smith. I've been playing Snake. A lot of the times I never even really opened up Ash. There's like 27 ways to get to Snake Eyes Ash.
Yeah.
But Poplar being hit to 1 is actually a really good hit because it's a Garnet card. And it means if you draw the Poplar, you kind of just suck.
Yeah. But also, like, their grind game gets kind of taken away too, which is nice. OSS could recycle it back, I guess, but then that doesn't feel as good either, right? Like, yeah. I guess, the Poplar hit is I'm fine with. Ash, I'm fine with. Bonfire's still going to be alive. But you know what we forgot to mention too off the Forbidden list is no freaking Flamberge. Like,
that's what I'm saying. And I don't see Flamberge in the limited either. Like, I don't think that card's like, if it's not in the limited or Forbidden section, then that card's still at 3.
That's what I'm
which
saying.
Which is kind of crazy.
So
like we were only playing 1 anyway.
Yeah, I know. So this to me is like, I don't know. That's such a huge monumental choke point for the deck. That card has so much text in it. It's insane.
It's got lots of effects, yeah.
Just like so many for what it needs. Like for what, not only does it do the thing that it's supposed to do, but it also like is disruption and it's recursion and it's just, I don't know. It's crazy. So I don't know if this actually reduces like the power level overall of Snake Eyes, especially when Azamina drops, because when those cards come back, you're going to have an archetype Omni negate, and I think you'll be able to nib proof yourself too with it, I think.
Yeah.
So
so far the Snakes, I don't know, this still feels fine for them. Like this doesn't really do much.
Yeah.
Doesn't do enough, I should say.
No, I agree with that. We'll get to the end of this list and then we'll just talk about what we think the rotation is going to be for meta decks, because I got thoughts on that. But anyway, keep going. Yeah.
The next 2 cards are number 40 and number C40, Gimmick Puppet, Strings and Dark Strings. So
Good.
this goes them to 1. I think this means you can't FTK with them, but I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think without the field spell, you need to cycle through these guys twice. But I think with the field spell, you only need to cycle through them once. So I think the FDK, you can still do it if you open the field spell.
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know too much about it. I definitely know that they needed 2, at least of each, in order to do the FTK. The field spell, though, is interesting. I'm not sure. But I'm pretty certain, though, even just doing this makes the combo to FTK a lot more fragile. So,
yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I'm very anti FTK unless it's like I'm putting up a board that's like
impossible. Yeah.
Pre-Isold Nerf Infernoble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally. Just like a wall of stuff. Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Speaking of Isold, I haven't seen, other than Eva, any cards like coming back like monster wise, because the next card is a spell and I can't believe they finally hit it after so many years.
Yeah.
Brain Dead Fusion, bro.
Yeah.
So I guess there's our subtle sanctifier hit. It doesn't really do much. Like there's also 27 ways to this card in the deck anyway. Like a good branded player will find a way to Branded Fusion.
People were on fusion deployment when they thought Branded Fusion would get hit 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Like people were
branded. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so many people were like teching in cards, just thinking like, okay, well, we all know Ash on Branded Fusion is the play. So what can I do around that, right? And so you'll get people doing fusion deployment stuff, bringing out Cartesia by revealing Grand Guignol, and then she's like a poly on leg. So you know what I mean? Like there's just ways to get there. So I again, I don't see like Branded being completely dead. This is also similar to, I think, Master Duel in the sense that Branded Fusion's at 1 and the deck is still fairly competent. So it's interesting. Like again, as a former Branded player, obviously that was always going to be the mark on Branded's head. But again, I don't think in this case hitting the bridge is more important than hitting like the town that it's getting to. You know what I mean? I think Sanctifier has always been the problem card. Like Branded Fusion in a vacuum is very powerful, but it has its clear weaknesses, and the targets that it was getting to weren't like insane, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. To me, it's fine. It's whatever. Brandon's been in and out of the format for years now, so I guess this is its consistency hit. But you're gonna find 60 pile players still doing things to FTK essentially. So
I think the important part for me is that I'm happy that if I'm against a Brandon player and they're already opening up and then they play Brandon Fusion from the hand because they've opened it, like hard opened it. Now they've basically taken away hard opening Brandon Fusion. Like you have to get to it, and I think that makes me a lot happier with knowing where I'm supposed to interrupt them. Like I'm gonna wait for them to add Brandon Fusion now, and then
and that's the thing.
You know what I mean? Like you get totally punished if they already opened it before, and now they're basically not opening it. Like they're opening it as much as people are opening Foolish or Called by the Grave. Like it's
no, I think you're absolutely right, because like now like hitting Aliber, like Imperm Aliber goes hard. Like it goes really hard. Because the worst feeling was like allowing an Aliber to go through and they get, there's my favorite card, Branded Lost. And you're like, no, it means they have Fusion already. Like, so now I have no problem, like, even potentially even ashing, like, the Aliber. You know what I mean? Like, you could go that far even now. So, Aliber becomes such a strong choke point for the deck. It could be just, like, Aliber set pass if you hit it at the right spot, or if you hit it early enough. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's fine. This is all fine. Now the deck becomes just a little bit more fragile and just a little bit more vulnerable. So it's good.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll see Branded in Voiceless anymore.
Good point. Yeah, I guess it becomes less of a splashable engine because of that, eh?
Yeah, which is good. Maybe that's the Eva unhit. Like the bringing Eva back is to kind of make Voiceless players feel a little bit better. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, but that's good. A good point, though.
The next card is Opening of the Spirit Gate. Small Ubel hit, small just consistency hit. I think this means that you don't run Chaos Beckoning Beast anymore.
Yeah.
So that's a tiny hit. I was kind of disappointed that I don't see Phantom of Ubel or Spirit of Ubel on this list.
I know. Me too.
That's okay. I mean, we'll see. I mean, if this is the only Ubel hit, it still seems like Ubel is going to be really strong.
Yeah, I think, like I said, we'll finish this part of the list and get into like where I think rotations will come into play. But like Ubel to me walks away from this list like maybe a little bit scuffed, but they're great. They're in a good position. I honestly thought Throne would get hit. I know, hey, people that paid $80 for Throne, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I thought it would be brought down to 1. But yeah, I think Gates isn't enough. I think the deck is still powerful, and it's still going to make some noise. Yeah, so Gates, it's like a little slap on the wrist. It's like, hey, we see you. Don't do too well, but we see you. And it's like, well, you're going to do well now because other decks have been, their consistency has been hit for the next 6 weeks. So
yeah, my boy, I'm so sorry, but Pot of Prosperity to 1. And I'm the one in our video who said this card is going to go to 1. You said, no, my rogue decks. And then,
I know.
and then we put it and I did nothing wrong. But I knew I should have put it and I did mostly wrong.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, I get it. Like, I absolutely get it. It's a card that allows to dig in to your deck, and it helps consistency. The issue is this. If it was only put in rogue decks and never in a top meta tier deck, it would be fine, right? Because those rogue decks need every inch of consistency that they can get. The problem is that you can't just have a card for one player base and not the other.
Yeah.
And so meta decks are able to abuse even more broken cards like Pot of Prosperity, right? My only hang up was, and this was, I guess, dependent on how the ban list would go, is that a lot of like meta decks, like for example, I mean, you don't see it obviously in Snake Eyes, but a lot of meta decks usually have a pretty tight extra deck, and therefore it would be kind of like I hate to say like a Sophie's choice as it came to like, oh, what cards do I banish in order to get advantage here? Unfortunately, now that certain key extra deck cards are gone anyway, I think that makes deck building a lot easier for those decks. But we all know in our hearts that Tenpai is the one that gets hit the most by this, right? And they don't typically care about their extra deck a whole lot. So their consistency is dramatically reduced, which is really good. And unfortunately, rogue players, like I stand with you, but we get caught in the crossfires again as per usual. So that's just how it goes. It was inevitable. A lot of people expected this, like, I don't know, again, 3 years ago, but yeah, it is what it is.
I'm sad for my Kashtira deck, but I'm happy you mentioned Tenpai because the next card is Sangan Summoning. Thank God. And we did say that this card would get limited. I'm happy that this stupid field spell is going to 1. Now Pydra has to search it if you don't have it, if you want it, instead of searching Sengen Kaiman. So you're either hard opening Sengen Kaiman and searching field spell, or you don't have either, and then Pydra's searching Sengen Kaiman because that's the better card.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes Pydra have a bigger hit, like, target on its head too, which is
good. Absolutely happy about that. I hope there's more Tempai hits because I hate that deck, but
I know, me too. But I feel like a lot of people will be dissuaded now to play it because of that.
Yeah. Now, holy fuck, grass looks greener is back to 1. Oh my god, dude. I'm playing tier limit. I'm playing 60 card tier limit with 3 thrusts, and I'm gonna grass your ass, bro.
What do you mean by that?
Yo, man, I'm there with you. I'm going to go 60 pile Witchcrafters because I don't care anymore.
Oh, no, Witchcrafters.
Like, you know what? Screw it. We're in here, dog. Let's mill. Let's mill 20. Let's get it.
I'm sorry. Was milling 1 card off Beatrice bad enough to get it banned? But let's just mill 25 cards off the top of your deck if you want.
If any card has a graveyard effect or sent a graveyard effect, it's going in your deck. I know that for a fact.
Bro, can Agito and Kelbeck come back now? Like,
oh my god.
Like, we're milling 25, bro. Isn't that more toxic?
100%. That's so funny. I mean, honestly, I think it's funny for the memes. Like, going to 1 is very safe. You know, in a 1 in 60 card deck, obviously it's a thrust target, which makes it kind of interesting. But I think even if you were to have like 3 thrusts and 1 grass, it still doesn't feel like amazing to get to every time. So yeah, I think they're just trying to experiment. What happens here? Does this become toxic really fast? Especially now bringing it into a modernized meta. It's at 1, I believe, in Master Duel as well. And it seems like Konami's like kind of looking to Master Duel and looking at, and this is another thing I'm noticing. This is like my, tinfoil hat theory. The statistics in Master Duel are a lot easier to track because it's all within their like IP and software. And so they're able to see percentages. You can now see like win rate percentage with this card and all that stuff. So the metrics are there at a very easy and accessible way. And so I wonder if they're looking to Master Duel for a lot of these hits and to put things back on lists, just because they're seeing how the player base is using them there. And it gives them the most tangible rate, like meta numbers, essentially, is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
So I think they're trying it because it's doing okay in MD, and they're going to see if that works its way into a healthier position in the TCG. And then, like how it always goes, they start at 1. If it's good, they go to 2. And if it's fine, it goes to 3. And I have no doubt we'll probably see this with this list as well. But yeah, it's funny. I like it. Witchcrafters rise up. Tier is going to be funny, though. 60 card tier is going to be hilarious.
Oh, I can't wait to build it.
Just like 3 of every tier card that you can find, like Cash Tira and tier limits and all that. I think
yeah, because there's tier cards that are still at 3.
Yeah.
And I'm sad I don't see Kid on this list. But did you know you can search grass with left arm offering?
Oh no, interesting.
You just banish your hand and add grass. That's it.
That's kind of funny. Is that card at 3?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
God, that's really funny. Wow.
So there you go. 6 ways to grass.
Okay, 6 ways to grass. Well, that sounds like I don't know what that sounds like, but that's good.
Sounds like a good time.
Sounds like a good time. All right.
And then the last one, we expected this too. Skill drain to 1. Not much to say about this one. It's a floodgate. Floodgates to 1 are good. I like this.
Yeah. F them. Get rid of them if you can, but for the newbies that are coming into the game, make them at 1. Whatever.
You know what I'm gonna see, because I'm playing White Forest Runic as well, and that deck obviously played like 3 skill drain because it was easy. But I mean, with all these floodgates at 1, I'm just gonna like play 1 skill drain, 1 goes in, 1 rivalry, 1 TC Boo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna draw into 1 anyway.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, okay, so you're not going to be as selective about which one you get, but you're going to hit 1 anyhow, just ratio-wise. That's how it's going to work. So
yeah, there will be 1 on the field. That's like for Runic Stun, they'll have that too.
Yeah, and by the way, Runic Stun not getting hit at all bothers me. It really
I don't see any Runic cards like in the Forbidden or Limited section. Like that's kind of nuts for me, but
we're still okay with deck out in 2024, 2025. That's insane.
I guess burn bad, deck out good.
Yeah. So I guess that's where we're drawing the line here. I would have liked to have seen the field spell to 1, but it is what it is.
Okay, let's go semi-limits, and the fucking front page is Colossus. Colossus to 2, that's a joke. I mean, it wasn't doing much. This is probably just for the Thunder Dragon pure players, like having 2 Colossus, I guess. Like, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's just for them, and as a Rip Beast player, you're only playing 1 anyway, so it's fine.
Honestly, I cut Colossus from my Rip Beast deck even, because like it's like I just rather Protoss.
Nice. Okay.
And Protoss still a card apparently.
Yeah, Protoss hasn't been touched here, it seems.
Nope.
Let's go. Protos Call Water on my Ice Barrier deck. It certainly hurts.
Yeah, you like that?
Oh, I hate that. So this is like an incentive now to like, God forbid you have a mono archetype or a mono attribute deck. You know, if you're only into like a single attribute, it's going to be a real tough time for you against Protos. So maybe this is an incentive to like, you know, diversify your attributes a little bit. But
yeah, honestly, getting shiftered and then Protos is like, like what else you got for me? Like,
yeah,
come on,
100%.
man.
Speaking,
crazy.
Did Shifter get hit? Did Shifter get hit?
I don't see it in the semi-limits,
Oh
man.
my god.
Shifter untouched. Let's go. We're
Now, here's the
Shifter gaming.
Shifter not getting hit sucks a lot for me and for a lot of people because now like decks that can use Shifter are going to use it. Decks that hate Shifter don't know how to play around it now as much. So I don't know, man. This is a little rough. This is going to be rough. And also like I don't think any of the rotational, like the top decks in the rotation are going to get hit all that much. I think Yubel's still up there. Snake Eyes is still going to be fine. It's going to be like hurt for a few weeks until Rota comes out. And then Tenpai, like there is a bigger like target on Pydra's head, but at the same time, I think they'll be fine because they still have, is it Chandra? They're like, I think they'll be okay. Like I don't think it's going to be the worst thing for them that Sangan Summoning's at to 1. So honestly, for me, a ban list is good based on how much it warps the meta. I don't think as of right now, at least so far, it's warping it for me. But anyway, we'll keep going with these hits and seeing what we can get.
Yeah, this semi-limited list, now that I'm looking at it, like it's the 4 Dragon Rulers, Lunalight Tiger, Colossus, and Ib. So all I'm seeing is some fluff hits to bring cards from 1 to 2. I'm not seeing anything from like 3 to 2.
Right.
So these are all just kind of fluff hits. Like these can all come back, no problem. Like all the Dragon Rulers are fine. Lunalight Tiger, it's been like years.
Yeah.
And then Ib, it just came back not that long ago. And now
and
it's
always
2.
it's a one of anyway. Like Ib is usually a one of in an extra deck. So
I guess unless you're playing World Chalice like pure like Mech Knight or something like that, but
yeah. Or I don't know if TG too. Anyway, but yeah, that's probably fine. Actually, Infernoble players use Ib a little bit. So like they call
but at 1.
Yeah, at 1 though, like Ib sold.
Ib sold.
But.
Oh
but otherwise, title again. I'm an Ice Barrier player. Title is good for me, so that's whatever. But I don't think they were making any noises or any noise. Sorry, collectively or separately. So that's fine.
Like all these hits are fine. Like I don't mind all these cards coming to 2, but I'm disappointed I don't see more from like 3 to 2 kind of thing.
100%. Yep.
All right, let's go to the unlimited section.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got Armageddon Knight. That's fine. It's old card, like it can come back. Red Rose Dragon, interesting. I think this card was at 1 before. I think that's fine. Kieran, Magic Specters are full power now. So that's kind of cool. You can open Kieran. Plush Fire. So we said that this was going to come back to 1, but I think the errata just made it so that it wasn't as bad. So now 3 is fine.
The hard ones per turn.
Yeah, the hard ones per turn has been implemented in the, I think it was the pendulum effect, but when it's destroyed, it gets the monster effect.
Yeah.
So that's what was being abused in the Pepe deck, we'll call it. But
yeah, that's right.
It's fine now. An Ancient Fairy Dragon to 3. I mean, same thing. It got eroded, and now it's unlimited. Like that's fine. It's not doing anything.
Yeah. No, it's always a 1 of anyway, so I'm okay with that. Yep.
Danglong to 3. Like okay, I mean, we're not really seeing much Sword Soul type decks anyway.
No, and I think again that was usually 1, maybe 2 at the most for them. But the funny thing is like with Protos and Danglong coming back, does Sword Soul make a bit of a comeback here? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they end on a Nib token, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's so true. Like that's the funny thing. It's like, oh my god, these decks can come back, and it's like, oh, but like the waste
they end on a rock.
They're all gone. Yeah, that's all dog water for sure, man. And then get your heralds in there for sure.
Right. Anyway. So Time Seal to 3 too. So I think this card was at 1. It's at 3. It's been a long time since this card was hit, but all I can think of is this is a normal trap. It's skip the draw phase, so you can't activate off thrust, but I think the lab players can abuse this.
This is what I was thinking. I think this is just lab support for whatever reason. I don't know why they have to keep like giving them things, but I guess it's because, and this is the hard thing to tell. Is lab a good deck, or is it just not like, or is it actually, maybe I'll rephrase it this way. Is lab a bad deck, or is it just not being played as much? I don't think it's a bad deck. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad deck by any means. I'm usually fine against lab players, but it just feels like maybe it's falling out just because it's been around for a while. So they need to kind of like put something else in the cookie jar for them to like feign some form of interest. So maybe this is just their way of doing that, I think.
Yeah, I don't like.
But they could probably abuse this card though for sure.
I don't like skipping draw phase, but yeah, I mean like I'm just trying to think of like how a lab turn would go. Like they could time seal you, so you skip your draw phase. They can lady pop a card in your hand, so now you're just at a 4-card start of your turn, basically up against the lab board, which could like set 3 with lady and then like big welcome and then kind of go off from there. So they're trying to like out advantage you in a trap deck, which is kind of fair because trap cards are, I mean, like they're slow. They're not very
generally
you know, like
anyway.
it's not they're not as powerful. But if you could set them up like Labyrinth can, then they can get really disruptive. So I think the advantage game is kind of like it makes sense.
I think you're right. I think also with Lab 2, the biggest thing with them is that they don't actually have like a crazy end board usually, like in terms of like monster presence. So they are a mid-range grind deck in some ways. And if this is part of that out advantage strategy, then it does definitely align with that. I mean, they're not comboing off. At least the IKEA version even isn't comboing off anymore. So I think with Baron being hit too, that helped a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I think it could be a gimmick card. It could be whatever. I think there's cards in the meta right now that even go further than that. I mean, don't forget that Tenpai just got a trap that skips main phase. they did do that. You know, like whatever. At least I can play in the main with this time seal card. Okay, I don't get my draw, but there's so many draw power cards in the game too that it's easier to regain that advantage. So
that's true. That's the whole of the list. Like, I mean, I have a feeling that the top 3 decks in the game right now, that being Snake Eyes, Tenpai, and Yubel, I think that remains unchanged. But I feel like there could be some shift before Rhoda. I feel like Tenpai really only got Prosp and Summoning to 1. That deck is still extremely toxic. In my opinion. I think maybe it could be the strong, like just barely edging out Snake as the strongest deck, just because Snake now can't end on Oppo. I mean, the Snake end board still kind of remains the same, just without Appaloosa. Like you still end on Desiree, Flamberg with IP in the spell trap zone. You could have the Caesar, DDD Caesar on the field as well to anti-nib your board, and then you still play the same game as Snake Eyes would. I think you have room now for probably the Zelantis OTK stuff. You can bring those 2 cards back in Raging Phoenix and Zelantis, and then just put DDD instead of Beatrice. Because now you're down Lacrima. But
if anything, the ban list just allowed deck building to be a lot easier for Snake Eyes, I find. They've took out cards that Azamina cards are going to fill in anyway, you know? Like, I don't know.
It'll be the best deck come post-Roto when Azamina comes out too.
That's how I feel. I mean, just any in-archetype Omni is crazy. Like, especially because they're getting away from Omni Negates now, right? Like, there's only a handful of Omni Negates that are as splashable. Maybe I don't know if Azamina is as splashable as Fiendsmith was, but if that's the kind of the route that it's going, I mean, we all know they're trying to push product and get that to sell, so that could be part of the game plan. It's like, hey, if you want your Omni Negate, can't do Baron anymore, so go and get the Azamina core, you know, which is just kind of annoying, but it is what it is. But again, like you said, I think at the end of the day, the top decks are still going to be the top decks. I don't see any like room for Rogue to kind of like elevate out of nowhere. Maybe newer Rogue decks like Goblin Bikers could make something. They get really good support in Rhoda, so I'm curious how that works. But is it as good as, for example, the support that the top meta decks are getting? I don't know, and I don't think so. So, you know, that's always the problem, right? It's like, oh, my cool Rogue deck got support. Oh, but the other meta like warping deck got support as well. You know, it's never like one and not the other. It's always like, you know, an even tide raises all ships kind of vibe. So yeah, that's just, I don't know. It's unfortunate. I think this is a forbidden list that is like so close yet so far. Like I had so much hope hearing about that forbidden list, and then just seeing sort of like the half measures afterwards. I'm like, I don't know if it does enough.
Yeah, I was expecting a couple more things, I guess. I mean, we did pretty good with assuming what would happen, but the things that I think this list makes it so that the decks that are at like the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 strongest position are closer to the top 3 decks. So I think Runic White Force is going to be really strong, and I think Ritual Beast, who's also untouched, is going to be extremely strong, like very anti-meta deck. Because they play shifter, and like they're very, very resilient into hand traps because they just contact fuse themselves out when they get rolling. But it's going to be interesting. I feel like it's going to be, well, I mean, we're going to have like a month and a half of this format until Rhoda comes out, and then we're just going to be in Snake format again. So
yeah, Yeah, agreed. I think, and with Rip Beast like coming up, I don't necessarily have a problem with it because I think you have to be a very, very competent player and a good pilot in order to use that deck. So it rewards practice and playing well. It's not like smooth brain like Tenpai is. So that's kind of, I think that's my justification for it. It's like, yes, it's a shifter deck, but you do have to think a little bit. And so I think Konami likes that. But otherwise, yeah, like you're right. I think those like tier 1 decks or tier 2 decks start to get a little bit closer to the top. And that's probably, again, for the health of the game, that's probably fine. I think we were just looking for some more meta warping changes, and I think that's just the biggest thing that I think even the casual fan base was hoping for. I don't know if casual fans walk away from this thinking that they're more likely to get back into the game. I don't know. I don't know if this actually draws them over the line. I think what it does is it keeps players that are already playing to continue to play. That's what it does.
Yeah. Guys, if you didn't already know this, Yu-Gi-Oh is actually a teacher IRL, so I'm gonna ask him to give this ban list a letter grade, but I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna give this ban list a big fat B. Just a B.
Oh, yeah.
It was a B. Like it had a lot of good stuff on it, but like it had stuff on it that's just like, eh.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually say B minus, and I think it's because the Forbidden List looks so promising, but it was missing Sanctifier, it was missing Flamberge. And for me, unfortunately, the effort was there. My teacher speak, the effort was there, but the execution was off. So, you got to respect like where Konami was trying to get to with this list. They didn't want to isolate the fan base, the competitive base. They wanted to try and bring in the casual base again. But in the end, I think you just end up kind of doing a half measure list that just prolongs the state of the game until Rhoda comes out, and then maybe you make some more deserved forbidden hits. But otherwise, B minus for me.
Fair enough. Okay, well, let us know what you guys think in the comment section below, how you think about this list, what deck you're going to be playing into the next format before Rhoda comes out. And yeah, just give us your thoughts. What cards do you want to see come back in the next ban list? What cards do you want to see banned in the next ban list? And let us know. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off here?
No, man. Again, as always, thank you for having me on. Always good discussions and talks. Again, like Sir said, if if there's anything that you were hoping for out of this list, let us know below, and we'll pop in and out of the comment section to engage in that dialogue. But otherwise, we have what we have until Rhoda, so let's make the most of it.
All right, sounds good, man. Electrum back to 1, Kit back to 1, Rise Heart back to 1. All right, thanks, guys.
I love that. Just sneak that in there.
Yeah. Right.